So, what is up, YouTube? I was gonna do it anyway, but shout out to Ray Union for bringing it up in the comments on my last video. Today I'm gonna be doing a how-to basically, and doing a little walkthrough. Well, not I wouldn't say walkthrough, more. Anyway, today I'm gonna be doing one up on this side to show y'all, but I added, let me like focus, these two on this side, and I did the twist and rip method, and then I went through with my handy dandy crochet needle, and this is the 12/1, I think. But yeah, that thing works wonders. My dreads would not be where they are today if not for that thing. But before I get started, I had another comment on like my first video that was just, I think it came up today or yesterday, from Zaiti666, and he was asking if I wash them. And yes, and my preference is I wash them 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how active I am. And I like to run. I do work, you know. So depending on what I get into, depends on how often I wash. But normally it's about 2 times a week, and I try and base that around Tuesday and Thursday ish. Sometimes it's Monday and Wednesday. I get a little off sometimes because of the fact that I do wash 3 times a week sometimes. A lot of people say you should drop it down to once a week, and yeah, I get that. I get that because you don't want mold and you don't want mildew, but I want a clean head myself, for one, and for two, my dreads are still young, and water is great for dreads. When it runs through it, like, you know how when you get out of the shower and the long hair that you have like sections out into these little parts to like smaller, like almost dread looking, but they're really really loose, like like that, like that right there. You get a bunch of those in your hair after you get out of the shower. Anyway, the water just like, I don't know, it makes it like grab onto each other basically and just hold, like, because after a while hair decides to just like start growing together. That's why you get Congos naturally. That's why, and when you see a lot of freeformers, they got really thick dreads. But before I get into this, I want to show y'all a little something just on this one right here, this big old Congo that I got back here. I ended up adding another one, and you can see how it's added, how much length is in between. But I ended up adding this one because I was sitting there like running my fingers kind of through it a little bit, through my hair, and just kind of like making sure that wasn't nothing growing into where it wasn't supposed to be. And it just felt weird because I had 3 of them, but it was like an L shape because it was an accident that ended up being not an accident, that ended up still being an accident in the end. But yeah, but you can see probably how it's more squared off, and I'm glad I did it now because it'll have, this other dread will have time to like start to grab onto everything else before it gets too long. So it'll correct this mistake quick, correct my mistake basically. But yeah, now as to the methods that I used on my hair, the methods that I use are the twist and rip, the crochet hook, I do palm rolling, and occasionally, the, I don't really like doing it, but I do the interlocking and a little bit of root flipping. It just depends on like how out of there the root is. Like, cause if I think it's like growing out, like bowing out all weird, I'm gonna like put it like and root flip it to where it all like holds together, and then kind of crochet hook it or crochet needle it to make sure that it stays basically. But another thing that I want to add really quick before I jump back in is if you're sincerely thinking about getting dreads, think about it. Like, really think about it. Because it's a huge commitment. It really is. Having them on your head and, like, just... When you do it, you want to grow them long. You want your dreads to be long. You don't want to do them and then them get, like, this long and you be like, oh, I don't really want them no more. You know, because then what was the point? You just wasted all that time, basically. You didn't really go through a journey. They're short, you know. They didn't have time to mature. You didn't give them that time. So think about it before you do it. Do you really want your hair to get long? Because that's what's gonna happen. This dreads, they're gonna keep growing. They're gonna keep growing. So like I said first, do you want them to get long? If not, what's the point really? If you want to trim them and like let them mature like really short, like Whoopi Goldberg or somebody, you know, like great, do that. Do them how you want to do them, but if you don't want them long, there's not a whole big point to it. And also, you're gonna get good and bad vibes back on it. It depends on the people, depends on who it is, you know, it depends on their preferences, but you're gonna get both positive and negative feedback. But you need to be that self-drive to like make you want to get the dreads and want to keep them up, you know. It's like I remember when I first got them and I was walking around with them basically freeform. I'll try and like tag on like a picture or two on here from my Snapchat that's like old when I first started them. But like when I first started them, they were kind of long. They were longer than this, but that's because most of all these have been like compacted up. You know, I've worked them, but they didn't look right. And if I let them hang, they really didn't look right, and they were just ratty. They didn't know where they were going, basically. But and even they're still kind of like that, you know. Especially this one. This one likes to go off in the direction that it pleases. This, like that's about how it stays all the time, unless it's in a ponytail or something like that. But if you're gonna do them, give them time. Actually go through the journey. Don't get them and like 6 months down the line, oh, I don't want them no more. You know, because it's not like, why did you even do it? You know, just to say you did, like, that's cool. Real dreadheads are gonna recognize real dreadheads. And if you want dreads for life, that's, come on now. That, like, you're really dedicated to it. Like, this is a way to express yourself, you know? Like, my so what? I love my dreads. I love the way they hang. I love the way they sit after they get out of the ponytail. I love it. I love it because even though they're short and they do go crazy, I know eventually they're not going to do that. Eventually, these are going to look fresh. Like, they're going to look dope. Like that's why I say, I think I have just about the most unique set of dreads on like straight hair type dread. I say a good month it was basically semi freeform because I started and I went in and I just did twist and rip all the way through my hair, and I'm gonna show y'all a little bit on twist and rip. If you haven't, looked it up before, I do suggest that you go on and get other points of view on it, because a lot of people don't really agree with twist and rip, but then at the same time they do. And then there's other ones who just believe in freeform, which as soon as I get everything like done, I'm just gonna do the semi freeform and let it all go. I'm gonna like keep it all separated, and that's about it. Wash, separate, and go. It's gonna be the the whole routine. But as you can see, I got two right here, so I'm gonna end up doing the same thing right here. So you can take this, whatever, something to get a straight line, and then pull all that other stuff on the other side away. You see that? It's not completely straight, but it'll do. Try and make them about the same size. And a lot of people go with the grid pattern with their dreads. A lot of people do all kinds of different patterns, whatever. I just did a straight grid pattern, basically, which is where all of my dreads are in rows and sections. So, yeah. Try and get it about, you want to get it about halfway, right there. Just to like clean up the line a little bit, I'm gonna go in. There, that'll do. That'll do. Okay. Now, what you're gonna want to do with twist and rip is like you got your section, and you want it all to like try and grab a hold of itself. So you want to kind of make it a little nappy, I guess. So just sit there and roll it back and forth, and then get it started in the direction that you want. Make sure this is all loose, and then you want to grab it about midway, and you want to start slowly turning it, twisting it in between your fingers, but you want to keep it all going the same direction, if that makes sense. Okay, now as you can see, it starts to form a little lump right there. Sorry, I had to focus it, but you see right there, you do that. But yeah, when I first started my dreads, I did this, and then for about a solid month, like I said, it was basically semi-freeform. They were all parted out, and I was washing them and just making sure that they were separated, and everything like that. But I'm gonna let you know right now. Sorry, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I'm gonna let you know, if you decide to do this by yourself, this all right here, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. After about an hour, 30 minutes to an hour, it's gonna start to hurt, and you're gonna see. there was a point to where I walked around with like about that much of my hair not done, like two rows not done, because I just did not want to get back here and do it because it hurts. You gotta find like a place to sit down and have a mirror right in front of your face so that you can see what you're doing, and have your arms propped so that you can do it for as long as possible. Like, it's tedious. This is tedious work because you want to try and make sure that you get all the knots as far down as you want, or as you can. But do this. You're trying to get them, every hair that's in that little section, into it. And that's hard to do with just the twist and rip, which is why this is a lifesaver. Because if you take the dread in between your two fingers like that, you take this it's not wanting to focus, but anyway, you take this and you want to make sure that the hook end trying to get it to focus on the actual hook. Come on, work for me. Hold on. Anyway, the actual hook side, the side that lips over, you want to make sure that that is pointing towards the outside of the dread that you're sticking it into. So if you can see where the hook is, if I'm going to be sticking it in this way, I want to make sure that the hook is kind of up and like more at the angle that I'm going in, you know what I'm saying? But what you want to do is get the dread, twist it a little bit. You don't want it to be too tight to where the crochet needle can't go through, but you want it to be tight enough to where it'll be actually having something to grab onto. But you take it and you go through the center of the dread. That you don't want to go too fast, but you want to try and get everything in. And if you need to, when you get it into the other side, like turn it a little bit and have it to where it grabs more of the hair as it goes through. And then as you keep doing this, you want to slowly roll the dread in between your fingers, but then at the same time trying to keep it going the same direction that you want all your dreads to go, because it's a lot easier if all your dreads are going the same direction, you know. It's easier to maintain. But you see that dread is practically in there right there at the base. So that is just a little, you know, a little bit so y'all know what's going on, what I'm doing. I'm just going to continue on up. You see those knots starting to form. And you see how like I'm practically splitting the two pieces that I grabbed in the initial point in half. Like that. See? Boom. And you want to do it up here. You don't want to be like working with a small little bit of hair, because you're not going to start a whole bunch of knots. You want it spread out enough to where they're actually going to like start to, and like you see how they're looping out like that? That's what's going to start your dreads. That's what you can pull all the other hair through with this. That's gonna be your main part right there, is making sure you get it nice and tight with all those like big knots in like in the base of the dread, like in the center, all that. And then you just want to grab all of it, twist it around. So now it's gone. Oh, but it's not. It's up here. And if you need to work with a small amount of space, like when you get towards the end, starting the dread with twist and rip and ending the dread is about the hardest part of doing twist and rip. The hardest part. All that's starting to come together. Now that all that is there, what I want to do is I want to come back down here to the base that I didn't touch a whole lot, and all that loose hair that's down there I'm going to like grab and just start to twist around. And when you do retwists and stuff, you want to do that. All that loose hair and the new growth that is just like too loose to like be pushed into it, you want to grab and just start twisting it around as tightly as you can. And like sometimes I'll do like this when I'm doing that to kind of start to lock that. But you want to get it back down at the base. Get your hook like you need it. Just start working your way slowly down the dread. Now I realize this is gonna be a long video, but yeah, it's worth it. Now, getting some progress done. And another thing, when you're trying to like thicken, like make your dreads thicker, like how some of these are a little bit thin, if you want them to be like real thick, like that one's not the best example, but like that, what you need to do is take your crochet needle the same way you would, but stick it like straight into the dread where it's going down like through it, and like just pull hair in the center. Pull it up into the center. Like don't allow the crochet needle to come out for a second. Just sit there and like keep pushing it down and pulling bits of hair back from up here into here. And what that'll do is it'll start puffing it out. But hold on, let me get a little more of this pulled in so I can show you like a legitimate, well, it'll be legit. Just hold on. Get some more of this pulled in. Okay. Now, you see how thin that is? Now that's pretty much all locked together quite well. But with how thin it is, I don't like it personally. My preference, I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shove it down the center of the dread, like the core of the dread. And I'm just going to work it all up. Okay, that's not a whole lot of difference. Hold on, I'm sorry. It's because there's so much of the dread that's like not done. It's not able to do what it needs to do. Hold on, I'm sorry. Give me just a second and I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm back. Now, you can see most of this is now somewhat locked up, except for the very end of it. But I did that just by twisting it, and literally like a minute and a half. I could have videotaped it, but it's gonna be a shorter video now. But okay, so let me do this for y'all now. Okay. Like I said, you always want to make sure you're twisting it in the way that you want it. Because when you twist it a little bit and then you force the crochet needle to pull hair through, it locks that spot. It's like, I don't know, it keeps it twisting that way. And sometimes when you get down in there, you need to like use it as like a tool. Like you need to get in there and dig it a little bit. Dig it up a little bit to thicken it out so that it grabs more hair, pulls it through. You can see it's already starting to get thicker. You see how it looks all weird right there? It was really like looped out. See that? That's that's the crochet needle going in there and grabbing all that hair that's too far down, pulling it up to like actually thicken up the dread. Do that. Sorry, almost finished. Sorry it's taking so long. This is legit the process. Y'all get to see it all right here. How my dreads became what they are. I like my dreads, I think. I'm not gonna say that they're the best dreads on a white guy, but I do think they are just about the most unique. And I don't know, that's my opinion. If y'all think otherwise, leave some in the comments. Give me names, anything, something I can look up. I'd be glad to start doing some reviews if that's what anybody wants. Okay. No, that end isn't very blunted. Sorry. Oh. Palm rolling is a very big thing. That is another thing you are going to need, so make sure you remember that. I will give you a little more as to what it is and what you're doing with it. Okay. That's about as good as I'm going to get it right now. I'll go back and, well, no. I'm not going to do that. Because then it'll never get running if I do that. Just wrap that long stuff at the end around it. And start pulling it through. Like so. Okay. Now that's good enough. Now, y'all see this dread? And how just like looped out it is. All that extra stuff. Give y'all a little guide. A little helping tool that will get you through, basically. If you want the more cylindrical dreads, palm rolling. It helps. It helps a lot. Generally helps more like right after you get out of the shower, after it's wet, you get into it and you see it and all that stuff that goes with it. Take it in between your palms and make sure you're like keeping it tighter towards the way that you spin it. And I spin all of mine. See, if you put a clock on my head, it would be clockwise. If you put a clock right here on my head, it would be clockwise. How all my dreads spin. But they all go this way. So, but you take it, keep it kind of tight, and you roll it tight in between your palms. Just like that, palm rolling. Keep that tight, get it all the way down to the base. This also pulls in like newer stuff. So if that's what you want it to do, you can choose to keep it all sectioned away, which you're not going to put into it. But when you do this, it like, the friction kind of heats it up and like makes it hold together just a little bit better. Now you see how much better it looks? Now if I was to do that on that dread alone for a month straight after getting out of the shower, be looking great. Anyway, so I think that's where I'm going to end this video. So I know it's kind of long. I'm sorry, but yeah, I got the whole process and what to do with your dreads. But yes, do wash. Zaggy 666, do wash your hair regularly. You want to try and keep it regular and on schedule because you want your hair to get used to producing its own oils that much, to that point, to when you wash it, you wash all the extra stuff out of it. Then your scalp has to produce enough for until that time that you wash again. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end this one. So, y'all have a great day.